Good morning and afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. My name is Greg Schmidt. I'll be the presenter for today's webinar. Today, I'm going to be talking about how you can start to automate your AP department's invoice processing with totally paperless invoice processing. Again, my name is Greg Schmidt. I'm the Senior Technical Solutions Consultant for the Document and Forms Management brand here at Help Systems. I've been with the Document and Forms Management brand for over 20 years now. I specialize in pre-sales demonstrations and proof of concepts, business process requirements gathering, pre-implementation design, and best practice guidance within organizations. The process today starts with a quick look at the areas of focus of the Document and Forms Management brand, and then I'll be covering the current top business challenges and trends for the AP automation that we're running into today. And then I'll be talking about what is Webdocs for AP and how can it help your organization. And then a little bit later, I'll be covering our integration methodology and options you have to integrate your ERP and other business systems that you might have in your organization. And at the end, I will be going over our implementation methodology and how it can guide you to a successful implementation. We'll end with a few minutes of Q&A so I can answer any questions that you might have. Feel free to enter those into the chat window as we go, and I will address them towards the end of the webinar if time allows. Please select all presenters so all the questions are directed towards me. We'll also plan to complete the session today in about 30 minutes or less so that you have plenty of time to make your next important meeting. Also, today's event is being recorded, and you will receive a link after the webinar to share with anyone in your organization that could not attend today's session. All right, let's get started here. Our Webdocs Document and Forms Management solution covers three core areas: document management for the capture and secure storage of all your business documents and content, process management for workflow enforcement of your business documents and forms, and forms management for all your output forms creation like invoices, bill of ladings, pack slips, and statements. And last of all, web-based fillable forms with workflow enforcement that can be used for the PO approvals and review process of any business form you may have a need for to enforce the data, how the data is being filled out, and the approval process around them. The Webdocs for AP solution uses all three of these categories to provide your AP department efficiencies with your AP process. But don't forget about the other departments in the organization that need to manage their documents as well. Webdocs can be expanded to help everyone in the organization, from HR and also shipping departments with their document management needs. Really quick before I move on to what the solution does and how it works, I just want to cover a few things on business challenges and why companies are looking at AP automation systems today. I don't want to inundate you with all the stats about AP automation, but I do want to highlight a few themes we are hearing in the industry today. The first one here is the #1 challenge or theme for many companies that we are working with today is paper-intensive and inefficient business processes. Most companies have very paper-intensive processes today and really have no way to enforce how the documents and data are captured. And even more important, how the approvals are being done on invoices that have variances or for the non-PO based invoices that have no PO attached to them. In most cases, AP has to run after every single one of those invoices that needs some kind of approval on it, either via email or even worse, print a copy and hand deliver it and then babysit the approval process until it's completed. This process is easier to do if you don't have large volumes, but as that volume grows and you need more and more approvals on those, it becomes an impossible task to manage. So today I'll be talking about how we can help you with that and remove the need for the manual paper-based process and let automation take you to that next step. Here are some of the other common themes we are hearing regularly as well. My business needs to automate workflow functionality for AP and other business processes. The company I work for is trying to gain new levels of efficiency without adding additional staff by maximizing user productivity. Departments are trying to eliminate paper processing and reallocate staff to value-added work such as servicing vendors and customers. Companies are trying to solve the issue of processing and distributing paperwork across multiple departments and multiple locations. Also, companies want to streamline the audit preparation and response times. And then last of all, management wants to fully utilize and extend existing IT investments across the company to leverage efficiencies. An example of something like this would be integration into your ERP to streamline the data access and also the document access. Now, keeping in mind some of those industry trends that we just talked about, what is Webdocs for AP and how can it help solve your AP automation needs? First of all, what is Webdocs for AP and how can it help your company? Webdocs for AP is our premier AP solution that helps organizations with the automation of their AP processes for PO and non-PO based invoices, boosting efficiencies within your AP department by avoiding manual document capture and data entry. It simplifies AP processors' activities by automatically capturing documents from email inboxes or network folders or even scanned documents that might be put in directly into the system. It then can auto-classify incoming documents and extract the data at the header, footer, and also the line item detail level, dependent on how the document is classified. It then auto-classifies those incoming documents, extracts that data that I was talking about, and then can place that directly into your ERP system. After the data is extracted from the document, it then validates the data to the configured business rules in the system. Webdocs for AP has a single user interface for documents that are routed and need data entry tasks completed, like GL coding, and also information or documents can be captured and tagged to the documents for later retrieval. Data then is exported directly to your ERP system or staging database, so no rekeying of data needs to take place. Here's a high-level look at the entire process of the Webdocs for AP. Again, this process starts with the automatic capture of the incoming invoices from email inboxes, network folders, or even the scanning of paper documents. We even have an RPA automation option. If you have vendor portals or websites you need to capture documents or data from, we can automatically set up tasks to remove those manual daily user tasks by logging into those websites and downloading the information directly and importing it into the system. Next is the data extraction process. When the documents are classified and the data is OCR'd off the incoming invoices, then after the data is extracted, it can then be matched to your ERP data. And if the document needs approval, it can be placed into a workflow for approvals before they are vouchered into the ERP. In the upcoming slides, I'll be talking more about this process in more detail. From start to finish, our solution does the heavy lifting, making your AP's team's job simpler by removing the need for manual data entry and classification of those incoming documents and invoices, making their jobs more of data validation than data entry. And don't forget that it also makes the users approving and reviewing documents job easier as well. The Webdocs for AP can help you with all 4 stages, if needed, of your AP process. It starts with step 1, the PO request and approval process. Maybe your ERP system generates POs today for you. If so, we can start the process by capturing the approved POs directly to Webdocs for archive with one of our automated monitors so that all the supporting documentations are accessed in one place. But if it doesn't, Webdocs for AP can kick off the process by creating a PO and getting approvals on it with our built-in web-based forms and workflow approval system. Again, if you already have that PO creation process, like many ERPs do today, Webdocs can start the process with the automatic capture of the PO and from the ERP with one of those automatic monitors, and that's the process that I'll be going through today. Step 2 of the process is the automated capture of the incoming invoices from any source like emails, network folders, and websites, which we already talked about. Let's take a peek behind the scenes. First, let's look at how does the advanced capture know what data you need. Like mentioned before, the Webdocs for AP can automatically capture your incoming invoices from any source like emails, network folders, and scanned paper. Captured invoices, the data is OCR'd and extracted. Invoices are split if received in a single file, then automatically classified with no human intervention. PO-based invoices can be matched to the system and processed straight through, and non-PO-based invoices can be routed for approvals, and then after approvals have been completed, they can be processed to the ERP system directly for vouchering and payment. Here's a look at what's happening behind the scenes. The Advanced Capture Engine, which is referred to as an IDC or Intelligent Document Capture, behind the covers, the Advanced Capture Server takes the image of the document that is captured, extracts the data from the entire invoice at the header and footer, all the way down to the line item if needed and required. If you get invoices in an email as an attachment, it can interrogate and split into the appropriate documents automatically without having someone to do that manually for each of those documents. After the data is extracted, the data is then used to classify the document. After classification happens, business rules can be ran on the data and document to make sure that all the data has been extracted correctly. Matching data to your ERP can take place at this time as well to ensure the supporting information in the ERP is in Webdocs or in the ERP. An example of this would be PO matching and line item matching process. Now on to step 3, the user review stage. This stage has the capability to send notifications to AP processors so they can verify exception invoices. Exception invoices are invoices that have broken some kind of business rule during the validation process. Corrections can be made at the AP department, or the invoice can be sent to a user workflow for review and approval. There are 2 paths a document can go on at this point. The first path is the invoices that are captured have passed classification and have also passed the business rules engine. If so, they can go straight through with no human interaction to the Webdocs system for archive, and then also the data gets passed to the ERP system, so no rekeying of the data has to take place. The second path is the exception document path. The exception process is triggered if the document can't be classified or if the data extracted failed one or more of the business rules. The AP clerk would get an email notification of failures, and then the process would start at the verification station. The verification station allows the AP users to look at the documents and the data in a single user interface side by side to make any corrections or approvals that are needed at that time. And at this point in the process, they can also do GL coding if necessary, or add them to a workflow for user review and approvals. If there are no variances from the invoice to the PO, after it is matched, it can be handled at the verification station by the AP user or automatically routed to Webdocs and placed in a workflow for review or in the archive. Users of the workflow would be notified of any approvals that need to be done via email or the Webdocs inbox. Now, how are approvals set up in Webdocs? Webdocs for AP also has a built-in workflow engine, so you can route your POs and invoices for approvals electronically in Webdocs. You can also configure email notifications at each step of the process to keep users informed of approvals needed or completed. Webdocs for AP routes it where it needs to go for the electronic sign-off based on the business rules. All approvers in Webdocs all approvals inside of the Webdocs system are version controlled and audit controlled, so you can see who and when someone has approved something in the process. Now, if users need to do approvals or GL coding and don't have access to the ERP to do so, you can use our Webdocs for AP approval routing form in this process. The Webdocs approval form is a single user interface for documents that need approval from users. This interface allows users to access them via the web interface and see the data extracted along with the document that has been processed. And then they can also make any changes necessary, like GL coding or different allocations inside of the extracted data. You can even add supporting information or documents at this time if needed as well. Step 4 of the process is the data integration and document use stage. This stage gives you the capability to interface your ERP system directly to export the verified data from the capture process and workflow approval process. The extracted data and approval data is passed to the ERP import, so no rekeying of data needs to happen. And also the documents are available for search immediately in the Webdocs system. This completes the process after everything is validated, matched, and reviewed. Webdocs for AP offers a variety of ERP integration capability depending on the integration methodology and standards of your company and what they use today. Webdocs for AP is our complete accounts payable document automation solution. Now let's take a look at some of those options you have for integration in between the ERP and the Webdocs for AP system. We look at integration in a variety of best practice ways. First, we look at what data needs to be passed to the ERP, and then we look at what options your systems have to do integration. And then we make our recommendation on what method to use. Let's take a look at a couple of the options here. The first option is our standard best practice option that most companies use to do integration into their ERP. This allows us to use our standard export file that is populated with the data that was captured with the advanced capture engine and any other information that was gathered during the workflow approval process, and export it as an XML file or like a CSV file, and then pass it to the ERP's import process. This option is becoming industry standard because most companies have import process today, so it makes more sense to reuse what you have already instead of reinventing the wheel. The second option you have to use is our built-in RESTful APIs to talk directly to the ERP system. We have a full set of REST APIs built into Webdocs that lets you interact with the document, data, and workflow routes in various ways during the process. And the third option takes advantage of our RPA capabilities or automation bots to interact with your ERP at the database or at the user interface level. The user interface level is used if you don't have an option that is feasible for integration. The Automate RPA option also allows you to interact directly to the ERP's database and APIs so you can build non-code-based integration with our drag and drop task and workflow designer. During this process, the Automate RPA process can also create reports of all transactions that were imported to the ERP and send an email to the AP team for reference. Now on to the last topic for today, the implementation process, our process and why it works. We all know it's a big step when companies decide they want to proceed on that paperless journey. At Help Systems, we take a collaborative approach to each project. This team-oriented strategy helps us understand the uniqueness of your business while taking into consideration the systems integration requirements within your organization. No two AP systems are exactly the same, and with Help Systems, you'll never get a cookie-cutter approach. When you enlist our services, you're working with a dynamic team of experts dedicated to address your individual business needs. We follow the plan, prepare, query and collect, review, and confirm process. This process, you can first plan what areas of the business will benefit from the solution, and then decide what areas you will start with, and also what areas will be next. In this process before we start implementation, we take time to create a plan, and during this planning phase, we look at what we can improve upon. We do a deep requirements gathering session, or what we refer to as our solution design, to help you understand and improve how you are doing things today. Manual paper-based business processes will slow any business down today. However, automating an inefficient business process will just make you more inefficient. That is why we help you take the inefficient processes and improve them before we automate them. The implementation phase is the last step. During this process, we use the plan that was created to execute and apply best practices when necessary. By using this approach, you are planning what your needs are today and keeping the future in mind for growth, sometimes called the phased approach. All right. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of time here for some Q&A. Feel free to keep entering your questions while I review the results so far. And if I don't get to all the questions today, and I'll follow up with you after the presentation to get those answered for you. All right, let me take a peek here. Oh, there's a lot of good questions. Let me just go through some of them here. All right. Can approvers be notified via email for approvals? The answer is yes. Notifications can be sent out to users in the AP department that have an exception document, and also users that might be in that review process can get in a notification via email as well, and then access them through the web interface. All right, next question. Can approvals be made on a mobile device? The answer is yes to that. Approvals can be made via any device that has web browser access. The Webdocs for AP solution is fully web enabled from that standpoint. All right, next question. I'll take this question. I think I already answered it, but I'm going to bring up this question. It's a good question. What are your ERP integration capabilities? Like I said, this question came up, was entered before I actually went through those integration slides. But to answer the question again, we have multiple ways to do integration into the ERP. So we have our RESTful API capability built into the application. We have file export capability, which is becoming more of that standard today. And we also have that RPA interface, the automated RPA interface as well, if your system does not have any of those before mentioned options. All right, I'm going to take one more question here and I'm going to wrap up here. This question is, what platform can you integrate into? So it's a two-part question. So what platforms can you integrate into, and what platform does your solution run on? The first, we can integrate into any platform. If it's IBM-I-based, Linux-based, or Windows-based, doesn't really make a difference. We can integrate into any one of those platforms, especially with all the different integration capabilities that we have, depending on what tier you're at. And the second part of the question, to answer the second part, we can run natively on the IBM-I, or we can run natively on a Windows system. And no matter what, either way that we connect to, or where you're running it at, we can connect to either one of those systems. It doesn't make a difference. Most of our IBM-I customers are running Windows-based systems that are connecting to their I resources and vice versa. There's still a lot of great questions out there that I'm not going to get to today for time purposes. If I didn't get to your question today, we'll be following up with you shortly to get those answered. Thanks for attending the webinar today. We hope you have learned some helpful information to allow your company to go down that AP automation journey. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to our sales team or to myself, and we'll be happy to schedule one of our free consultations or a live one-on-one demonstration to address any of those questions. You will receive a link today after this presentation, so that you can share this recording with anyone in your company that could not attend today's session. Thanks again for attending today's webinar. Have a great day and a rest of your week.